All righty. Well, welcome, everybody, to the August 19th, 2026 work session meeting of the Planning Board. Our regularly scheduled meeting will be at 5 o'clock, where we will take the cases being presented tonight. However, this is a work session, and during a work session, we're going to discuss a few potential bylaw amendments. And Jackie is here and Paul is here to discuss the procedures of what has to happen. I'm going to pass this out. I have notes from the June meeting, which I felt went particularly poorly, and therefore I am going to make some statements for the record. When everybody gets a copy, I'll read it. And we do have, I will note, we do have new members tonight. We have Andrew Holt and Mark Signiski, and Steve Rogers was here before, but you're still new. So,
Upgraded.
okay. Oh, he's now a full member. And Andrew and Mark are alternates. Okay, I felt compelled to write this letter. I felt at the June meeting, things got really out of hand, and I lost control of the meeting. And I'm going to explain to you why I lost control of the meeting. And here goes. When I joined the planning board in 2009, I made a pledge to myself to never compromise my standards. Two of those standards are, number one, to treat all applicants fairly, and number two, to avoid embarrassing fellow board members at a public hearing. Until June's meeting, this has not been an issue. For the first time in my 17 years' experience on the Eastham Planning Board, I am ashamed of the actions that the board took towards an applicant. All property owners are full or part-time residents of the town, and they all deserve to be treated with respect. Our charge is to serve Eastham residents in an appropriate manner. Last month, in my opinion, this did not happen. In order to avoid chastising or berating fellow board members, I let all of you ramble. The applicant appeared for residential site plan approval. This would promulgate a review of the data as shown on the submitted plan. Rather than reviewing the merits or shortcomings of the plan, the session turned out to be the admonishing of the applicant because he did not meet with the neighbors. I point out, there is nothing in the bylaws or regulations that require an applicant to meet with or gain approval of the neighbors. The applicant tried to get a sense of what the board wanted. He was not given an answer. Rather, again, bullied into meeting with the neighbors to try to appease them. I tried to steer the board to review the plan details, such as house sidings, setback, property line screening, etc. But the discussion turned back to the neighbors. So tonight I'm going to make a fair warning. At the end of this meeting, there'll be an election of officers. If I am elected chair, I will not let this happen again. If I am forced to choose, I will opt for setting the board straight as opposed to compromising an applicant's rights. It is the planning board's responsibility, not the neighbors, to determine what extent an application should conform to all of the section of the bylaws, including the character of the neighborhood. The primary point here is the improper treatment of an applicant, which should not have occurred. Respectfully submitted for the record, Daniel P. Koppelman, Chairman. Okay. We will go to...
Is there a response to that?
Absolutely, please do.
So, thank you for clarification. I do think that as a member of the board, we have a responsibility to make sure that the townspeople are heard. And regardless of the requirement that you state, it was very clear that there were a number of people in the town that were concerned that that house would violate the character of the neighborhood, which in turn, in my estimate, would violate the the requirements, set forth by the town of Eastham. I could be wrong. I take exception that you peanut butter and admonish the entire board. I don't think that, I think, quite honestly, that is as unprofessional as you accusing us of admonishing the applicant. I actually thought that, I thought coming in here, after I had seen what was in the package, I thought that the applicant took the feedback and took it to heart. And in the end, I think the product of those two meetings is, representing the town and the neighbors. I do think that product is better than what walked in here. I don't appreciate the fact that, you've taken it upon yourself to basically say that everyone who's sitting here treated the applicant unprofessionally. The next time we can have that conversation in open forum. I actually, when I went to the property, came back or whatever, I said to myself, wow, we actually did accomplish something in those couple of meetings by listening to the townspeople, listening to the applicant, and coming out with something better. And frankly, I hope we do more of that. So, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, just to follow up on that a little bit. It wasn't, I was one of those who was critical of the applicant for not meeting with the neighbors right off the bat. The reason for that was the first month that we met with him, he admitted he had not met with the neighbors, and we had suggested, because there's obviously a lot of neighbors had shown up to give their opinion or had very strong opinions about it. We are allowed, and in fact are directed by the bylaws, to consider the aspects of, what that's going to do to the neighborhood, character of the neighborhood and all that, and include that in our decision when the time comes. That's in the bylaws. The applicant chose not to contact any neighbors, despite from that first meeting getting a pretty good sense that A, they didn't like the look of the building, B, they didn't like the size of the building, C, they didn't like the garage, D, the list goes on. I'm not sure if he paid a lot of attention or took any notes, but a lot of those opinions were expressed. Come the second meeting, when he said that he had not met with any of the neighbors, that's like, did this guy learn anything? So many of the applicants have come in here, and they did, from the get-go, contact the neighbors, because that's a polite thing to do. It's very commonly done in these circumstances. Or if they come out of the first meeting when someone suggests it, they do that. And from my view, he was just trying to get what he wanted, and the neighbors be damned. Let's just get a vote on this so I can start building. And I felt that the neighbors deserved their due, that they have shown up twice in this situation, and he had ignored our suggestions, which were perhaps more polite the first time. And so I was offended by that, as offended as I'm sure the neighbors were. And I think that from the notes, we'll discuss it when the meeting begins at 5, but it seems like he was willing to make some changes. He got some feedback from at least a couple of the neighbors. And I think that's the give and take that we need to have. That when you come into a neighborhood and you want to build something that, okay, technically by the book, it fits within whatever number of square feet that particular project's supposed to be and a number of criteria, you can dig in your heels and just do what you want. Yes, you can. But it is still polite, professional, for them to at least speak to the neighbors and find out what their issues are. Sometimes the neighbors just want to be heard, and they don't have any complaints when the time comes for a vote. And it seemed just wrong for him to totally ignore that. But our job here is to weigh what is being proposed against the criteria spelled out in the bylaw. If the neighbors don't show up, don't send letters pro or con, then it makes it more difficult for us to determine that. And I really appreciate when the neighbors show up and give their opinion in whatever direction it happens to be. But if we're going to just let the neighbors come in, say their piece, sit down, and completely ignore them, why do we have them?
I didn't say that.
Why do we have them?
I
What's the
didn't-
sense in inviting the neighbors if our opinion's just going to be ignored? I think we have a role here, listening to them and taking their opinions into heart, because that's what we're directed to do in the bylaw. We're allowed to, and it's suggested that we do, when we're making our final decision. So I don't regret a single word I said last month, or the 2
Okay.
months ago.
Anybody else?
I'd like to say something.
Sure, please do.
I happen to agree with Steve and Kevin. I'm not gonna repeat all of that kind of stuff. I don't feel like the meeting was a terrible meeting at all. And I'm surprised with your projection that it was a terrible meeting. And like Kevin said, at the end of all of this, some good came out of it. We got some changes made. Whether that's enough to pass it or not is, we'll talk about later on. I feel like your statement is quite over the top, to be honest.
Fine.
And I think you should have, if you had a problem with a member, you should have spoken to that member and not the entire board.
It wasn't, no, hold on. First of all, is there anybody else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I just want to say I agree with Kevin and Dave and Steve down here.
Okay.
I thought we were doing our job. And how do we know neighborhood characteristics? We don't listen to the neighbors. That's all. Because
Okay.
everything I would have said has been said.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just pulled out my, the piece that I wrote, that I read in the last meeting, and it was all grounded in zoning bylaw sections that I referred to throughout what I wrote. And I don't feel like any of it was meant to attack an applicant or not be professional. So I agree with the rest of the board, and I do think that we ended up with a better outcome all the way around, and we'll see what happens in the hearing. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Your opinion is more than welcome. If you feel that I did the wrong thing, then vote for a different chairman. I feel strongly enough that with my experience and with what I have running these meetings, that it was totally inappropriate. I mean, totally inappropriate. The poor guy asked the question, what do you want? And what was he told? Go to the neighbors and negotiate a settlement. That's not what this board is all about. I was going to save this for later. I should save it for later. I'm going to show you what was presented last in June and what was presented tonight. And I defy you to see the difference in the house. Defy you to see the
I
difference.
did the same thing. I compared the two of them.
And the only difference is the garage, which I have always advocated should not face the street. So why wasn't that discussed? Why wasn't it focused on one issue? The 500
Chair,
square foot.
Mr. Chair,
I'm
sorry to
sorry.
interrupt. I just, like, you're getting into
All
the
right.
details of the
You're
case,
right,
which will be.
which we're not having
I
yet.
just-
So we'll do that later.
The statement was
Okay.
just a general, but I just
Okay.
would refrain from.
All right, we're here to discuss, and by the way, you are free. We're going to have an election of chairman at the end of the meeting. You're free to elect whoever you wish and nominate whoever you wish. It's fine with me. So that's the democratic way, and that's what's going to happen tonight. Okay, let's move on. I had suggested that we have a couple of issues that I see brewing in the town of Eastham. Number one is the potential proliferation of used storage containers in residential properties. I spent years developing an aquifer protection zone. That aquifer protection zone is the reason we have that is we have one source of water in the town of Eastham. If we were to do anything to compromise that one source of water, we won't have water. certainly not water that doesn't need to be treated. Right now, the only thing they do to that water is put chlorine in it, disinfection, nothing else. And I want to keep it that way. And I see unregulated use of storage containers that are prone to rusting, prone to have potentially chemicals inside of them that we know nothing about, and prone to be an environmental hazard, should not be allowed to be put on properties in the town of Eastham. I understand why somebody would want one for storage, perhaps for his personal use or his side business or whatever else, but I don't think the risk of polluting the aquifer is enough to justify putting those wherever they want in the town of Eastham. The second issue I have is the location of fences in the front yard. When a property owner puts a fence, and again, I only have one sketch, but when a property owner puts a fence right up to the property line, and a neighbor has a driveway next to the property, the eye height of the person sitting in the car is about 2.5 feet high, 2.5 to 3 feet. The nose of the car is at least 6 feet. So if you had a fence right at the property line, and the neighbor's trying to get out of his driveway, he can't see the traffic coming in the road. This is beyond what would be reasonable for safe access. So my suggestion would be to preclude any fences. Now, where do we start? I'm suggesting perhaps in the 6-foot vegetated buffer that we've already established in the town. We require a 6-foot vegetated buffer to all property lines. Why not restrict the construction of fences to be outside of that 6-foot setback? It'll alleviate the problem. The guy coming out, the neighbor coming out on the driveway will have that 6 feet to see before he comes out into the road. It makes perfect sense. Welcome any comments you have on these two issues, but that's what I had envisioned that we might do in terms of promulgating some regulations to make it safe.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a comment, and I'm conscious of the time, we're at 4:19, and I think for the benefit of many of us that have not been through the drafting of bylaws from scratch including our 2 new alternates, we should allow staff to go through the drafting zoning bylaw amendments process, and then if we have time left over, we can address the specific issues that, which ones might we prioritize. But I'm conscious of time, and we do have applications to consider at 5.
Fine.
So if that's okay with you?
Yes, absolutely.
We could go to
Thank you.
that. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just dive right in. We want to give a primer on the bylaw amendment process. So the board has a lot of work to do in your normal monthly meetings reviewing cases, but there's a separate set of work that happens when we want to amend zoning bylaws. So we wanted to go through that so the board understands that process. So there is a number of different ways a bylaw amendment can make its way to town meeting. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, it could be brought forth by the planning board itself. It could be brought forth by the select board. It could be brought forth by a resident, by a citizen's petition. But ultimately, no matter which path it starts with, the planning board plays a critical role because it really has to go through the planning board for a recommendation, one way or the other, up or down, for a town meeting. And so ultimately, the board, whether the board itself is promulgating this or not, the planning board is responsible for holding a public hearing on it. And as I said, issuing a recommendation one way or the other, which gets printed in the town meeting warrant. And ultimately, town meeting decides whether a bylaw, a zoning amendment gets changed or not. In the past, in my time here, last, whatever it's been, 10, 11 years, most of the bylaw amendments have really started with staff working with the planning board and that's not uncommon either, because staff, we're working with the bylaws, we see where things are, the loose ends of it, and where things need to be tweaked. So most of the time, as some of you remember, have been on the board, it's really been me bringing these things forth, bringing it to the board's attention. We've run it through the planning board that way. Over the last 5 years, we've had a different approach. We've had the zoning task force, of which Kevin and Pat are both the planning board reps on that task force. The task force was created by the select board 5 years ago because the select board had specific zoning things that they were concerned with, that they wanted to prioritize. And so they created this board and the zoning, the committee, the task force. The task force is an advisory committee to the select board. So we kind of have this hybrid model where the last few years, and to be honest with you, staff, I took advantage of that because it was a nice mechanism to route these various zoning amendments through. So the initial thing where there was a set of things that the select board wanted this task force to look at and make recommendations to the select board, which in then turn, ultimately this all has to go through the planning board, and that's the model. And so it started off with specific items. And over the years, I've used that as a mechanism. Things I knew we needed to address, we've kind of run it all through the zoning task force. And it has worked well. Over the last 5 years, we've gotten over 20 different zoning amendments, which is an incredible amount of work, and they've all been approved. And the planning board has played a part in that. This last year, we had some mixed results. We had, how many? We had nine amendments go to town meeting. 3 were passed, 1 failed, and 5 we ended up pulling back before they went to a vote. And some of the lessons we learned was that we had, I think, too many zoning amendments for one meeting. The amendments were complicated, and they were spread across a lot of different topics, so they were really a mixed bag of topics. And they were included in a town meeting warrant that had a lot of other things going on. We had an override, we had some difficult, tricky things on there. And we didn't really coordinate well with the select board and the town manager about coordinating what the content of the warrant was. And then this was already been debriefed. We met with the select board a few months ago. Everyone agreed that, so going forward for this year, the select board and the task force and staff really feel it's important to coordinate better about how many amendments get onto the warrant, make sure it's balanced with the rest of the warrant, and that it's not going to be overwhelming, and that those amendments that do make it are cohesive, and that they all relate to a common theme, because I think it's going to be easier for folks to get their head around, understand, even if they don't understand all the details, they understand, okay, these are all related to a common theme of how, in this case, it's going to be mostly affordable housing. So the chair brought up a couple of ideas for amendments that are not on the list. We're going to go through the list, and they're not on the list. There'll be room for discussion about the pros and cons, the merits of that, but sure.
Can you clarify the list?
Yep.
Yeah, but just when you say the list, who's generating the list? And
Yeah,
where's-
so the list is been generated from staff and the zoning task force as things that have been identified that should be looked at. And that list has been vetted through the select board. Because again, I'll remind, the task force is an advisory group to the select board. And so up until last year, we were batting 1,000 because, and there wasn't really any issue. All of the amendments were supported by the select board unanimously and supported by the planning board, and it all worked. But this past year, we had some issues, so it's just, I think we can't use the same approach. And so we're trying to make it more targeted to make sure that we have a short list of things that the task force is working on that are absolutely supportive by the select board. And part of what we want to discuss today is how do we make sure that the planning board is playing its appropriate role in that. So On the left side here of the screen is the list of topics we're going to work on for town meeting May 2027. Tiny houses and undersized lots are two topics that we're obligated to undertake because the town adopted the seasonal communities designation, which is a state designation. It gives the town, a lot of, what's the word? Standing. What's the word I'm trying to say? Preemptive. Access to resources, yeah. That's not the word, but anyway, it gives us some pre-qualified access to resources and funding and so forth. So we've accepted that, and so we're obligated to amend the zoning to address issues related to tiny houses and undersized lots as they relate to expanding affordable housing opportunities. So we kind of have to do those for town meeting. The site coverage floor area regulations, task force and staff agreed that that was one of those articles that were pulled at the town meeting because we anticipated it wasn't going to get approved and we didn't want it to all, we wanted to be able to go back and revisit it because that issue is directly tied to the board's monthly meetings and how the board operates and your site plan review process. So we wanted to make sure we could revisit that, work out the details, fine tune it, and bring it back for next year's town meeting.
Sorry for the interruption.
It's
So
okay.
the clarification is that if it's voted down in the town meeting, it's a 2-year delay?
Yeah, you can't bring it back unless it's substantially different, so we wanted to preserve, we didn't want to, So that's why those 3 items are on there. The 4th item is looking at reducing the minimum lot size. Our minimum lot size in town is 40,000 square feet. So if you want to subdivide a property, you need at least 80,000 square feet. Historically, the minimum lot size has been less than that, and most of our lots in town are between 20 and 30,000. So because we're obligated to look at undersized lots, I felt it made sense to, at the same time, look at, do we just reduce, if we're going to activate the use of undersized lots, should we just look at the minimum lot size? So I made the pitch to the task force and the select board that it just makes sense to do this because it's related. Doesn't mean we will, but just to look at it and make that part of the work plan. And the last piece is something that many of you know, I always reserve a spot for just housekeeping items, definitions, quick cleanup things, miscellaneous. So that list of really 3 or 4 things is what the select board has endorsed, what the task force is prepared to work on, and what Jackie and I as the staff are prepared to assist and do the work on for this year. The items on the other side, the future topics, are things that have been identified by this task force, have been discussed by the select board, but have been put on a longer track because some of them just are more complicated. They require more ramp-up time, more staff work time, research analysis time to socialize it within the community, see if is there any appetite for this. So they're things that we're working on behind the scenes, but not prepared to bring to town meeting until later on, not 2027 at least. So that's the list we're working on. And as I said, the fencing issue and the storage container issue did not make it onto the 2027 list because they didn't receive the support from the select board as something to work on. We can revisit that and talk about different options for that, but that's where we are. So
Paul, at what stage is the zoning task force, and maybe my colleagues here can answer, to talk about the short list for next year? Is that already in the works? Are those conversations already in the works? I mean, this 2027 list has already been vetted and defined. So where are we in the next stage such that we can partner more closely with them so that we're not hearing things after the fact?
So Jackie and I have been doing some of the background research. The task force hasn't met since May or April. we're set to start meeting in September, resume meeting, and at which point we'll get into taking these topics up again, and basically Jackie and I will be presenting the analysis, the research, the information we have, and then getting into the details of drafting the bylaw. I think we'll skip to the next.
I'm just
Oh,
want
sure.
to add 2 points that I hope will be helpful. The notion with the future topics is, as we've looked at all of these and looking at how to prioritize them, you'll note that they're also connected to our strategic plan, right? Which has been really important to make sure that we're tying those in, that these amendments are purposeful and purpose-driven. But I just want to point out about the future topics, part of the reason that they're there, in addition to trying to present a more cohesive zoning package at town meeting each year, some of these items we cannot accomplish in 12 months, let alone what actually amounts to about 4 that we have to work on them with the task force. And I say 4 because we will restart those meetings in September. We've been doing an awful lot of homework over the summer, but we essentially have to have these done by the end of December in order to conduct the joint board meeting in January, to get feedback, to do the public process. So the scope of actually writing these amendments, it's easy to think all the way to May. We really have September to December to accomplish
Right.
everything that needs to be accomplished. And so we have to look at those future topics and say, we're going to need time to research, to vet some of these legal. We're going to need multiple public workshops on some of these to understand the direction of the town, the temperature of what people are looking for. So just so to understand that while we have the 2027 list as the priority of what is actively being written now, we are also then this fall actively starting the 1.5-year cycle for at least the first 3 future topics. So there's overlap in those cycles years. It's not as clean as this all fits in one simple box. So I just want to have that in the background when we talk about staff capacity, is because we're also managing the rest of that in the background in addition to everything.
That's so helpful. So how do we insert ourselves so we're not just at the back end of being informed?
I'll leave it to Paul.
Perfect.
So we have, in the past, basically done this research analysis, draft the bylaw between, up till December, because at that point, we have to have draft language ready to. And the planning board has really been included in the December, January part mostly, when we have this joint workshop where we have planning board and zoning board and the task force and select board, and we kind of present all this stuff and get feedback. And that's good, but it also, to be fair, it's not great for the planning board. It's a lot to handle. So we want to adjust that for this year. So we want to, basically starting from this month on, make sure that we're updating the planning board as part of your regularly monthly meeting. Might be a quick update, might be more of like we got to reserve an extra time to go through details so that the planning board understands where we are in the process, what we've found for our research and analysis so far, what the task force is thinking is what direction we want to go, so that we can get your feedback on a rolling basis and incorporate that as we draft different iterations of the bylaw. So that is an adjustment we want to make for this year. We will still plan to have the joint workshop in the winter where we can kind of get everyone's view and summarize it, but we want to have the planning board actively giving us feedback. And again, Kevin and Pat are reps, so they're at this task force essentially representing the interests of the planning board, their viewpoint, but we want to bring this back to the full board more often than we have in the past.
So I would propose that we add agenda time onto our agenda so that we can give Kevin and Pat themselves as both roles. They are part of the planning board, but then you bring our input to the zoning task force. I don't remember specific time that we've spent doing that in this meeting,
Right, we
such
haven't.
that, right, so that we become, the verbs that you were using, informed. So then we become informed, and we don't have an opportunity to do, Dan, what you're proposing, put something on that may not have been, you know, because you're talking about the zoning task force as being the lead author, which means we need to do a better job of working together such that Kevin and Pat can really be representatives for
Right.
us.
And like I said, I think we've been going along pretty smoothly last few years because we've just you know, it just kind of all fell into place. But
Right.
issues come up where maybe the planning board has different thoughts on these topics or the priority of these topics, or you
Right.
have other topics that aren't on these lists. So that's where
Okay.
we just haven't had that issue come up the last 5 years. But we may this year where there might be some other topics. So that's why we want to, I guess, I want to make sure that the board, the planning board understands, like, for this year, for gearing up for May 2027, we're locked into that
I
short
understand
list.
that. Yeah.
But there is still room for discussion about
I also think that one of the things that happens in all of our planning board meetings is, thank you, is we may see something that as a group, we think, gee, this isn't quite right, but it's, if we're going by the zoning code, it's appropriate. So maybe, but sometimes there just is uneasiness about what we're doing, but we're trying to stick to the zoning code. So maybe that's something that goes back to the zoning task force. And I think over time, we've had those occasions where, gee, we would like to do something different, but this is what the zoning code says.
Right.
So
right.
we could be
And-
more deliberate about that.
And I think that the task force, from a staff perspective, I just think logistically, it's been easier to do this work through the task force than the planning board, just because it's a smaller group that's able to meet more frequently, and rather than run everything through the planning board, and we're kind of, it just, that doesn't mean it has to be that way going forward, but to be honest, we've kind of just gotten into that mode where we have reps from zoning board and planning board, so I felt comfortable, like, if there was an issue that the planning board brought up, that, like, you know, we're running into this issue, that's really where the FAR, the site coverage thing,
Right.
came into play. The board wrestles with these issues, how do we make these approvals and work with the bylaw? We're still running it, it's not smooth, there's still kinks in it. So we took that feedback from the planning board, and that's how it got onto the zoning task force, because it's just been an easier group, just logistically, because a lot of this, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of drafting, iterations, review, research, so that's kind of another reason why it's just kind of shifted to running everything through the zoning task force.
Yeah, and it just feels like we haven't had really a deliberate process here.
Right, I agree with you, yeah.
Where we collectively agree commercial use of residential properties should be something that we ask Kevin and Pat to
Right.
really act, you know, on behalf of the planning board to advocate
Right.
for. Yeah.
Paul,
So I
just-
think we can add
Just a
that
question, though, Paul.
to our
just from
agendas.
Trying to interpret your comments here, are we saying that if the planning board, saying takes Dan's initiatives here, really wanted to address those, is it not the best timing because of the task force's obligation to work on the short list? Is that like a death knell for what we're talking about here, or is there still room for that? Because, and I say that because on the container list bylaw, if we ever come up with one, I was massively disappointed when that was pulled, because I agree with Dan, this is a nasty thing, a potentially nasty thing. If it's not going to make it, I mean, the select board decides ultimately what's going to be submitted to town meeting or not. Okay, but I just wanted that spelled out really clear. If it's not something we can go forward with, or is it still up to the planning board to decide and see where it goes?
So
In your
it's
opinion,
not,
not
well,
not being
no,
held
things
to.
are not that clear cut, because the planning board can bring an amendment on its own to town meeting.
Mhm.
So the select, the select board doesn't have the power to stop that.
Right. Okay.
But the select board also vets these amendments, and they also make their recommendations. So that's why in the perfect world, it's nice to have everything aligned where everyone kind of agrees on, here's the topics we're working on. So at least in theory, we're not saying, well, you don't have this, you know, the select board may not endorse it, but at least they understand the planning board's working on it. And then they're, you know, the individual members are going to vote to endorse it or not. But I think we've been always trying to run this through the cycle where we're just setting the expectations of everyone at least understands the topics. And the planning board, just like the select board, ultimately, all of you members have to vote whether you agree and are going to recommend it. And you can't really do that until you see the final product. You may, and that's why it's like, it's not really a black and white. You may say, in theory, it's like, yeah, these topics are important, let's look at them. What we end up proposing, members on select board and planning board may say, well, I like the idea of looking at it, but now that I see where it's ending, I don't support it. And that's fine. I mean, that's just part of the process, but we're trying to, at least it's always nice when we kind of, and that's, to your point, make sure that the task force, the planning board, the select board kind of understand, as we're going through, they know, these are the topics, we all support looking at these topics, we do these check-ins, these mid-flight check-ins, we see which direction we're going, we're still comfortable with it, or we're not, or here's where we, go with that part, maybe we don't do this. So we can keep everyone informed and set the expectations. So hopefully, my preference is that we end up with a product that all these various boards do support, and maybe there were some changes on the way. And that's where we didn't do a good job last year. We kind of just had a big workshop and threw it all on there, and it really wasn't, it was too much information. So I don't know if I've addressed your question, but it's not straightforward. And I want to be honest with the board. It's the board can bring these things, you can bring forth an amendment to town meeting. To try to answer your question, from a staff perspective, we're kind of locked into working on that shorter list of things that have been vetted with the task force and are supported by the select board. And again, we're going to meet with the select board too. We're going to look, we may go back in a couple of months and say, here's the direction we're going with, site coverage or tiny houses. They may say, I don't like the direction we're going, and then we have, so this is an iterative process.
I mean, in pushing it out, if the planning board came up with something, we wanted to get it on there. We presented to the various boards, and not all of them agreed with it. It would still go to town meeting, and as they typically, when they introduce the next article, they may say, well, this was voted on by such and such a board or such and such a committee, and it went down in flames, was supported unanimously, whatever, and then it's presented and the people vote, and whatever happens, whatever happens.
Right,
Okay.
right. But we're not, I speak for Jackie and myself, we're not really geared up to be able to staff support
So we would have to
other
do
things
the
beyond that
research on
short list.
As the
'Cause that-
planning board, we're not,
Right.
because you've already got too many irons in the fire, basically, you cannot take this on if we decided to do something. It would have to be our own abilities or whatever to.
Right,
to put it
which
together.
is,
Which is understood.
board can do that. Again, it's always tricky because we're staff support to the planning board too, and the task force. And I always think, like, if we're gonna take on a zoning amendment, I wanna make sure we get it right, and ultimately, I wanna see it passed if we're gonna put all the time and energy into it. So
No, I got it.
So I just
That's
want to
fine.
set the expectation that as of right now, we have that short list of things we're obligated to do, and those are the things that we're geared up to assist the task force and bring the planning board into the fold of that process.
Gotcha.
So I have two thoughts. One is that I think it might be a good idea to let the select board know earlier, as well as the planning board, where the task force is headed, is going on the specifics. The second thought that popped into my head as Kevin was talking is that I think for many people, I think for people at town meeting, until this past town meeting, participants thought that the select board was in support of certain amendments. And then to have this, because we had been through this process, and then to have members of the select board said, I don't think that's a good idea, was kind of I felt like it was a little bit like having the rug pulled out from under us. So maybe the thing is to inform the select board of the progress we think we're making earlier, and that might tie in with also dovetailing with the planning board
Yeah,
as we go along.
I agree, and that was one of the takeaways when we debriefed with the select board and the task force a few months ago, that we want to actually treat the bylaw process more closely to the way we do the budget process with the finance committee, and that we have more frequent check-ins with the select board. So we are building that into the process. So again, we're going to start making this a regular agenda item. We're going to be getting on the select board agenda. It may just be, it may be just a memo or something, a report that gets in their packets, so at least they know the status, and/or, more of a presentation to go over some details and get, take the temperature of the select board, make sure, how are they feeling about that? So we, at the end of the day, it's always nice when you have everyone lined up and everyone supports it and you get unanimous recommendations. It doesn't always happen, but I think that's not always realistic, but at least if the expectation is set and everyone understands which direction these things are going, I think that is probably the best we can, anything beyond that, we're overreaching.
I think last year, we were caught in the 11th hour. We were just presented everything in December or January. It wasn't time to even have our input. And as a result, I think it's a better idea if we are kept up to date
Yeah.
on the zoning task force and the strategic planning so that we can give input. Because technically, last year was too late. Everything was written, everything was decided, and we weren't part of that decision. I would like to know, just from polling the board now, are you interested in the two items that I brought up as potentially, at some date and time, to be discussed as potential zoning amendments?
Yes.
Kevin, yes?
Yes.
Pat, yes?
Yep.
Dave?
Yes?
Michelle? Stephen? Can't read I'm sorry. You're not, okay.
Yes.
And Steve?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay. All right.
So I think I would suggest that we can set up at a future meeting, we can talk more about that process and the options for bringing that up.
Okay.
I keep emphasizing the staff capacity thing just because, again, the two items that we're obligated to do because of the state requirements, but that third item is, we want to make sure we could work on that because that is affecting this board's monthly work and how you operate. So again, that's why I'm want to set expectations about what we're prepared to help bring forward, because Jackie and I both feel like if we start adding on things for 2027 and then we don't do an adequate job with the site coverage, that actually is directly going to impact you, this board. So that's just trying to be realistic. Many of you know I have a tendency to say yes to everything because I want to move things forward, but I'm just really trying to be stricter and more upfront about this is really what we're able to support. And I think that one is important directly to the planning board's own purposes.
Okay.
So I guess, I know we're running short on time. I think this is really just outlining the key details and again, the key timelines. By the time we get to December, January, we really, we don't actually have, town meetings in May, it seems like a long way off, but really, the warrant goes to print the beginning of April. Gotta have the public hearings, the review session, so really, it's the fall and through the, January at the latest, we gotta have really final drafts done. So that does affect our capacity and our timing for what we can do in 1 year. Anything else I'm forgetting?
No, but I'm happy to, if you're going to move forward with that, then for September, I will prepare a document for you that lays out the process and sort of calendarizes these dates for you so that we can at least, sort of hand you the template for what you'll need to do and how you want to handle your agendas.
I mean, and my goal, I'll go try to tie this up with, ultimately, the planning board, no matter who is presenting us an article, however it gets there, the planning board has to have a public hearing on it, even if it's not something you came up with. My goal would be that the public hearing, basically, the board already knows what's coming, and hopefully, we've worked out the kinks. The public hearing part is to make sure the public has an opportunity. They may have just been coming to this, so we can hear their input, and if we need to take into consideration those comments or change things, but basically that the board, we already kind of know where the planning board is. They're comfortable with this, but we, and that's, to be fair, not something that happened last year because you weren't able to absorb all that stuff. So the board members they had some questions and concerns about it, and it's kind of like, I want to avoid that, so we kind of just can be prepared more for just what the public input might be, so there's hopefully less adjustments and less curveballs at the 11th hour coming out. Yes.
Do you advertise that list of what you're going to be working on? I mean, I would think that the public would like to know that these are the areas we're gonna work on for bylaw changes. Because then they might actually wanna come to the meetings and be part of the discussion, whereas, I don't know, does anybody come to the task force meetings?
Not usually. I mean, we might get someone once in a while sit in on it, but we
I mean,
don't.
Because nobody knows what's going on, for one thing.
Right. Well, to answer your question, we don't post this on the homepage of the website. All of the task force meetings are open meetings. They're all open to the public. The agendas are on there, the topics, they're all recorded and all that. But the average person isn't going out of their way to look at that stuff. So that's something I think by putting these agendas, putting these topics on the planning board, so we'll still have all the task force things. They'll be appearing on the agenda. I think we can certainly just list it on the planning board webpage. Here's the topics for
I
this
think that
year.
would be good, because
That,
some people would like to be part of those discussions, I
Right.
would think.
right. That's certainly easy to do.
Okay, we have one other part of business tonight. We can do that afterwards, I guess. We're running out of time. We can do that at the public hearing, right? We can approve the minutes at the next,
Yes, yeah, you
Yes.
can move that if you want to.
okay. We have to reorganize. So the first thing I will take is nominations for the position of chairman.
I nominate Michelle Bryan for chair.
Okay?
I'll nominate Dan.
Okay. Any others? Okay, I will poll the board. I start with Steve. What do we do? Just individually, one by one, say who you want?
So you have two nominees.
Yep.
So you need to take a roll call vote. So you'll need to go down the board, and each full voting member, alternates, you're not able to vote on this.
That's what I was going to
Full voting
clarify.
members, you'll need to state the name of the person whom you are voting for chair. I am happy to keep that tally.
Good.
Steve is keeping notes for us as well.
Yeah.
We'll need to do that. Then you'll need to make a motion to accept the results if we have clear results, and we'll go from there.
Very good.
I'd like to do that for vice chair and clerk also.
Yeah, we'll start with chair and then do vice chair and then do clerk, correct? Okay, so we have two nominations for chair. Let's start. All right, we'll start with Kevin.
Michelle?
Pat?
Michelle?
Dave?
Michelle?
Okay. I am going to abstain. Michelle?
Can we abstain?
You can vote.
Ken?
You can abstain, but the quantum of the vote's going to be on the number of people who voted.
I just didn't know process-wise if you could abstain.
You can vote.
I'll vote for myself.
Okay, Stephen?
Michelle.
Okay, and who else is allowed to vote? Steve?
Michelle.
Very good. Okay, so the votes are in, and I will officially hand over the gavel to Michelle. She'll be running the 5 o'clock meeting.
We have to do the vice chair.
Vice Chair. We have nominations for Vice Chair.
I'll nominate Dan.
I respectfully decline the nomination.
I'll nominate Pat.
I accept the nomination.
Anybody else? Okay. All in favor of Pat being vice chair? Kevin?
Pat?
Pat?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Chair votes yes. Michelle?
Yes.
Stephen?
Pat.
And the other?
Stephen, I vote yes.
Okay, very good. We need a clerk.
What does the clerk do, if I may ask?
Take the notes.
Clerk takes the notes.
Do you see the
It's
cramp in
doing
my
it.
arm?
I thought he was already voted in.
Stephen Rogers was nominated and volunteered. He is now a full voting member, which makes him eligible, so all you would need to do is take your vote.
Well, is there anybody else? First of all, somebody needs to nominate Stephen.
I'll nominate Stephen.
Okay, any discussion? Any more? Okay. All in favor? Kevin?
Aye?
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And the other Stephen?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, so we have it. We have the new Board of Officers for the next coming year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, who is now the chairman of the Planning Board, and she will run the next meeting. Do you want to take a break? That's up to you.
Yeah, why don't we take 5 minutes?
Okay, very good.
Thank you all.
You can make that for the projector? Thank you.
For those people who are joining us via Zoom, we had a previous meeting that went a little bit late. We'll be starting the regular planning board meeting shortly.
Take your stretch, take your 5 minutes.
So I'm going to give you this after the hearing,
Perfect.
and then you could
I did have.
implement it. Great. I'll show it to the applicant first.
He is going to be joining us by Zoom.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll agree.
Yeah, I did,
High tech.
Yeah, it's cutting edge here.
monthly or?
No. Maybe once every couple of weeks. Yeah.
Do you have a new leader since
We
Mary?
do, we do. Oh, give me a sec. He's on the zoning board, Martin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he'll be different.
Okay, Michelle, you can begin.
Thank you. All right, let's call the Eastham Planning Board meeting, public hearing to order of August 19th, 2026. It is 5:07 PM. We have two cases to review, and we're going to do them in reverse order. If that's okay with everyone, I think it's been cleared. We will start with case number PB 2026-03, 23 Beach Plum Lane. Map 13, parcel 188, James Gaeta, owner, seeks a site plan approval residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaws, section 7.4.4.2, residential lot intensity, and section 10.3, site plan approval residential to construct an addition on a lot under 10,000 square feet where the proposed addition or expansion exceeds 2.5% of the lot area. So I'll turn it over to the applicant, who I believe is joining us via Zoom.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair. Are you the new chair or Madam
Yes, I
Chair?
am. I am. You missed
Okay.
the excitement of this. You get to be the first case for me. Thank you.
All right, good evening, and members of the board. Yes, I'm James Gaeta. I'm the owner, along with my wife, who's not here, of 23 Beach Plum Lane. And we're here, as the chair noted, because we have a 8,712 square foot lot, which is under 10,000, and our 300 square foot addition represents 3.44% of the lot, which exceeds the 2.5 threshold. Just to make note, I'd like to note that the ZBA on August 6th had granted a special permit authorizing the increase of the non-conforming setback. That's what we're doing on one side. And also the Board of Health has approved this project. So we're here, I believe this is the last board, and seeking approval. The 300 square foot addition is just it's a small addition that we'd like to do we have a little growing family with some grandchildren, and we need a little bit of extension. We have a very small cottage. But we believe that this is keeping in character the neighborhood. There's no change to any character. It's compatible with the prevailing cedar shakes and everything that's here, the character of the building and the surrounding neighborhood. It's a minimal request. It's not substantial. There's no adverse environmental or physical impact. And it's really the only feasible method we have to put this small addition in. So the proposed 300 square foot addition, we believe, represents a reasonable low impact improvement to the property that respects the existing layout of the home and the neighborhood. And we respectfully request that the board approve the special permit and area variance to allow this project to move forward. I also note that my direct neighbor, where we are having the increase of the nonconformity, has written a letter in support of the project, and my neighbor directly in front of us also has written a letter of support. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Well, why don't we start with questions from the board, and then we'll open it up to any members of the public who have comments. Kevin?
I really don't have any particular... Turn that on. I don't really have any particular questions. It's a fairly small addition. Having 4 grandchildren of my own, I can understand why you'd want a place to hide, if nothing else. But no, I don't see anything at all controversial about this. I say more power to you. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Pat?
Hi. So I was over there Saturday morning, and you all were there about 7:30 in the morning. I have no questions. It's a lovely little cottage, and I wish you the best as you prepare it for a new generation.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat. Dave?
I think it's a nice little project. I don't really have any problems. I'm curious, though. In the back bedroom, it has a half bath, I guess. And
Yes.
right beside that, it looks like there's 2 little rooms. What the heck are they?
Well, what do you mean? I don't understand. In the
Well, there's
room?
There's a toilet, and right behind that, there appears to be a little
Oh,
room.
it's a closet. there's a closet.
And another closet in front of the closet?
Yes, it's a, it's a, I think we have, it was about 3 foot deep, or maybe little 3.5 foot deep. And we cut it in half, so we created what we call an owner's closet, in case we rent out to somebody occasionally, and we just put our stuff back there.
Okay, I was just curious, wasn't labeled, and I was just wondering. Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Thanks. Dan?
Yeah, site plan approval. We normally require the designation of parking spaces. Beach Plum Lane, you can barely pass, and I don't want to see any parking on the street. So
There's never parking on the street.
I
It's not
underst-
allowed.
I understand that, but when we approve site plan, we're supposed to approve the parking. I have laid out the parking in the front of your property, which would have 3 spaces, closer to Beach Plum than they presently are, because you're going to be putting the addition in. I would be,
No, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's not going to be any closer. It's going to be exactly where it is. There's no change to the parking.
Well-
It's exactly what it is, because we're still, I measured it, we're over 22 feet from the house where our parking begins. And the addition doesn't go out that far.
I agree with,
Space.
I agree with you. The parking is there and can be
Yes.
supported. I want it shown on the plan, because when we
Oh,
do
on-
site plan approval, part of what we show on the plan is the parking spaces. So what I've suggested, unless the board wishes otherwise, is that I would allow Jackie to review the change showing the parking spaces and do it administratively so that we don't have to hold this hearing open. And I would give Jackie, you can't see this, but I'll give Jackie the sketch of the parking and let her administratively approve it so that we can close the hearing tonight, subject to showing the location of the parking spaces. Do you have an issue with that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We could show, how would you like that to be shown?
On a copy of the plan submitted to this planning board.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to give it to Jackie.
Okay, well,
have nothing further.
we're going to, in other words, how it's existing right now, because we're not changing it. We'll just show it so you understand, and it's a part of the record.
Correct.
Okay,
Great.
sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do have one other thing.
Oh,
Jackie, don't we have to give waivers on landscaping, on lighting, and on things like that?
Yes, you can. There were no landscaping or lighting changes proposed.
So do we need to waive the requirements of the landscaping and lighting plan, or can we just approve it the way it is?
Sure, why don't we do a waiver to keep it all on the record?
Okay. So I propose a waiver for case number PB 2026-3, that we waive the requirements of site plan, of landscaping plan and lighting plan.
Just a point of clarification, just because I'm not sure. Should we include the parking spaces in this as well, or I'm not familiar with the rules enough?
So the
We'll put it in the
parking
findings.
spaces will be shown on the site plan.
Yeah,
A landscaping plan would be a separate sheet
Okay.
that would specify the landscaping and the lighting. So Dan's motion is to waive the requirement from lighting and
I
landscaping being
second
shown.
that.
Okay, and since I made the motion, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, I'm taking your job.
that's okay.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay.
Aye.
So we'll note that on the,
Sorry, before you move too far ahead, Madam Chair, we need to just make sure we're clear on who is seated. It should be your full board, but can you just want to confirm that with you, that for this case?
yeah, the full board is seated, our alternates are not
Correct. Okay,
seated.
thank you.
Yes, correct. But our alternates can certainly comment on the cases. So let's go next. Dan, anything else?
No.
Okay. Stephen Nunnally, comments?
I tend to look at the staff's finding of facts, and they don't seem to have any objection to this, and I think it's a nice plan, and I would vote to approve it.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
First, thank you for the comprehensive and clear package. It was easy to understand, and I would fully support the project.
Thank you. Andrew?
I just have one question. I know you mentioned it was approved by the Board of Health, but I see on the plan, dimensions to the septic tank are plus or minus so many feet, and they're, what I can tell, quite close to the proposed foundation. So I don't know if it's just more of a cautionary comment or a question. Can the septic tank be exposed for measurement before you really get underway? Because if
No,
you...
he already checked that, O'Reilly, and he actually was the person that originally was the inspector for that, for the Advantac that I have out there. That it's running perfectly. We've never had a problem. It's on the records, and there is no foundation. There's only a foundation at the entryway. The main addition is on piers, so we can keep it back, and the addition will be cantilevered off of concrete sonotube type of structure. So that's why there's no problem with the septic.
Okay.
Because of that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Andrew. Steve?
No comment.
And I have no additional comments from what's already been noted, so thank you for that. We'll open it up to any, did I forget somebody? Okay. We'll open it up to any members of the public that would like to speak on this case. Okay. Hearing none, any other comments from staff? Okay. All right, so I'll look for a motion to approve site plan approval for,
Do you want to go through the findings of fact?
oh, yeah, let's go through that first. Okay. So we'll read through the proposed findings of fact, and we normally read all of them, correct? The property is located at 23 Beach Plum Lane, map 13, parcel 188 in Residential District A. 2, the applicant has applied for site plan approval residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaw section 7.4.4.2, lot under 10,000 square feet where a proposed addition exceeds 2.5% of the lot area, and section 10.3, site plan approval residential to construct a 300 square foot single-story addition to an existing single-family dwelling. At a hearing on August 6, 2026, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted a special permit, ZBA 2026-07, pursuant to bylaw section 4.3 and section 7.2, authorizing the associated intensification of pre-existing non-conforming setback. The proposed project does not negatively impact existing native vegetation, soil, or grade. There's no grade changes, plantings, fencing, or landscaping changes proposed. The applicant represents no native vegetation will be cleared. The proposed project is compatible with the prevailing character of other uses and buildings on the site and in the neighborhood in terms of appropriate height, scale, and massing. The addition is a single-story, 300-square-foot expansion that does not increase the existing building height and utilizes a shed roof matching the existing cottage roof with a small gable at the entry. The proposed project is compatible with the prevailing character of other uses and buildings on the site and in the neighborhood in terms of building materials and architectural techniques. Proposed cedar shingle siding, roofing, double-hung windows, and trim are represented as matching the existing dwelling. The proposed project does not negatively impact steep slopes, floodplains, hilltops, dunes, scenic views, or wetlands. No such resources were identified on the site. The proposed project does protect significant environmental resources, including groundwater and water quality. No changes to grading, septic, or drainage are proposed. The proposed site plan does maximize the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site in relationship to adjacent ways. No changes to existing driveway, parking area, or pedestrian access. The driveway spots will be added to the site plan and
Condition 9.
conditioned on, exactly. It's conditioned on adding the driveway spots. Approval is conditioned on adding the driveway spots onto the site plan. No abutters or parties of interest appeared at the hearing, and 2 letters in support of the project were received. 0 letters in opposition were received. So now I'm looking for a motion for approval. Oh, do you want me to add the waivers here? Or didn't we already approve the waivers? We already voted on those.
Findings.
Go ahead, no.
You can just, the findings of fact should note that you granted.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion approving the findings of fact, noting that we already approved a waiver of a landscaping plan and a lighting plan. So I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We'll start with Steve
Aye.
and Steve Rogers.
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Do you want to read the conditions?
So if you would like, you can make a motion to approve standard conditions as written. You do have the proposed additional condition. I've drafted that. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
So the proposal is to add condition 9, prior to applying for a building permit, the applicant shall submit to the planning staff a revised site plan showing the parking spaces on the property.
Okay. So we'll look for a motion approving the proposed standard conditions as written, including number 9 as read by Ms. O'Rourke. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Steve?
Aye.
Steve Rogers?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Then you just need a motion to grant the site plan approval.
Okay. And now we need a motion to grant the site plan approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Stephen?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, sir. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Very fast.
Oh,
All right.
Tell your board that you need them to slow down for your notes, Mr. Clerk,
How are you writing? Gotta take
because they are very fast.
shorthand. All right, now we will call case number PB-2026-01, which was continued from June 17th, 2026, 35 Maria Road, map 10, parcel 151. Brian Holding, as the owner and applicant, seeks a site plan approval residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaw section 7.4.4, residential lot intensity, and section 10.3, site plan approval residential, to demolish an existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling on a lot containing 20,000 square feet or more, where the site coverage exceeds 3,000 square feet. And votes may be taken on this today. And there is a revision that's being passed out. There was some discrepancy in square footage, I believe, that's been corrected and noted. Correct?
Yes, on the site plan, again,
On
we
the
had
site
a
plan.
bit of a typo. The adjusted square footage is 4,199. I believe it was 4,119
Right.
on the first edition, but I did get it updated.
Okay, so we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Holding. Thank you for being patient with us and coming back yet again.
No problem. I didn't know it could be so easy, but that was good to see. So good to see everyone again. I hope you had a good summer. Nice to meet the alternates. My name is Brian Holding, owner of 35 Maria Road. I am here for site plan approval of a revised version of the proposed project for what is now a 4,199 square foot by GFA coverage, I believe it was, I forgot the exact number, around 3,400 square feet of livable space. It is a 4-bed, 4.5-bath home above grade, including a full finished basement with 2 beds and 2 bathrooms. Per the most recent, what was it, June, I guess, was the meeting that we had. Following that meeting, I did reach out to the neighbors. I sent them all snail mail. I did receive 2 responses. One of them was basically looking for confirmation that this was not intended to be a short-term rental property, which it is very much not intended to be that. He was amenable to the reduction in size that I proposed, that I told him I had been working on doing. I did get that finalized, obviously, with the architect. The other neighbor was looking for some more privacy between lots. I guess there was an agreement in hand that they had some buffer between lots, and I wasn't offering the same buffer, but I think the plantings that I adjusted for create a much better privacy hedge than they've ever had before. That the amount of eastern red cedars that are now between lots, on all sides really, will create a nice privacy hedge over the next couple of years that does a lot more than anything that's there now. I think the goal there was to not just create the privacy hedge, but also it is a sound buffering sort of hedge that there will be reduction in sound carried from the house, the pool area, whatever it may be. Any light pollution that might be of concern, I don't think will be a real problem given the amount of trees that are there now. I know there was a concern from a neighbor regarding trees and foliage and stuff for birds and animals. I think that if you consider what's on the property now, it's a lot of just overgrown weeds and vines. Adding the amount of trees and plantings are significantly more spaces for birds and butterflies and hummingbirds, whatever it may be that you might want to see when you're down in the Cape on a nice summer day. The other comment made, I believe it was board member Kevin Gatlin, that you would significantly wanted me to change the orientation of the garage doors. So that was one of the things that we did as part of the new design. Obviously, then it changed the driveway, which is now a straight entrance driveway or flared entrance to the driveway, but is just a straight driveway along the side of the property with a K-turn. I did provide a number of parking spaces that it is still a significant number of parking available, so there should be no concern about the number of cars that could be at the house at any one time. It did change the landscaping. I removed the circular driveway. I sort of opened up the front entrance area so that the house is more visible from the front with no large driveway in the space. But I did want to add some plantings in a nice little mulched area by the driveway. Got rid of the larger decorative stone wall I was planning and just have sort of a decorative stone house number there or something like that that might be nice. I'm trying to think. The home itself, obviously, is a 10% reduction, both in GFA coverage as well as the livable space. The final numbers, I believe I'd given you a property comparison sheet. Obviously this lot is one of the bigger lots. There's, 3 or 4 lots of this size in the neighborhood. So this is the highest coverage of those lots, understood, but it is still within reason of the rest of the neighborhood in terms of actual density, which is, as I understand it, the main concern of, the site coverage numbers, is that your concern is the density of the home as compared to the lot. It is now a 10.48% GFA percentage, which is doubly compliant with both the 11% number and the 4,800 square foot number that would be allowed on this property in a normal scenario. I don't know how to put it, but I hope that the changes that have been made are understood. I'm really trying to make an effort here to make it so this house works. I still love the design of the home. I I very much understand it is still a bigger home than in the neighborhood, but I hope it is something that, you know, people can appreciate for, you know, what I've done to, you know, listen to both the board and the neighbors and find something that everyone can appreciate being built.
Thank you. Anything further at this point?
Not that I can think
Okay.
of.
Well, let's hear from what everybody here has to say. Okay, so we'll start with comments, questions from board members. And just to remind everybody, I am not personally seated on this case, so I don't have a vote. Our alternates certainly can have input, even though they did not have the benefit of being at these other hearings. Steve Rogers is seated, as are the members to my right. So just to be clear on that.
Michelle, may I just add, sorry, one more thing? Because Mr. Nunnally was not able to be here for the June meeting, although he was here for the May opening, he is not eligible to vote. So it's going to be a five-member panel.
Right. So it's Steve Rogers and the members to my right.
Yes.
Correct. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. So let's open it up. Questions, comments from board members. Kevin,
Sure.
love the seat at the end, right?
First of all, thank you for reaching out to the neighbors. The changes you have made are, I think, representative of a lot of the issues that we had discussed at prior two meetings. The 10% reduction, I think, is heading in the right direction there. I don't have a number in my head as to what's acceptable, but that's why I was urging you to speak with the neighbors and try to get a feel for that kind of thing. I don't want to dictate to you what to build. But great that you're able to find ways to reduce the size of it a bit. Correct on the site coverage ratios, those obviously follow with that. Thank you for the change in the garage orientation. That was an issue before as well. As you're saying, addressing some of the landscaping with screening the privacy, for privacy reasons. That's, again, a neighbor had raised that as an issue. Hopefully that satisfies them. I don't have any particular questions at this time, but I sort of reserve the right to come back and ask further questions depending on the public feedback, if that's acceptable to the chair.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. Pat?
So thank you for the work that you've done on this. I like the movement of the garage, and I like the reduction in square footage. And it also seems like, because now the pool and the house are sort of one behind the other, that you're giving more space on either side, which is why you put the trees in, and hopefully that will help with the sound. Yeah, and I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Dave?
I also want to thank you for making the changes and talking with the neighbors. I think, especially with all the new plantings that you've shown, I think the possibility of noise problems will be reduced, and the driveway orientation, I think, is a good thing. I had one question, though. Where the driveway comes up to meet the garage, shouldn't that be the full length of the garage, basically, instead of just 2/3 of it?
Let's see.
This. It's a good question.
So that is, you're talking about the, like, garage opening, sorry, here,
Yep.
right? So those are the garage doors. The first floor master bedroom extends past the garage, so that's why there's no driveway there. So that's, if you compare that to the actual house plan, the second half of that wall is the master
Okay.
bedroom.
If that's the case, then that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
And so then that's where, if you look at the landscape plan, you can see I have plantings there to
Okay.
sort of mask noise and carbon monoxide that might be coming off cars backing out or whatnot.
Okay, that was my only concern.
Thank you, Dave. Dan?
No questions.
Steve? Stephen?
I noticed that you seem to have addressed all the issues from your soon-to-be neighbors. So that would be my only concern, and you seem to have addressed it. So.
Great. Mark?
I wasn't here for the last two meetings, but I did watch them on the video. I don't have anything to add of substance.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Same here, I didn't catch all the meetings, so I have no further comment or questions.
Thank you. Steve?
An additional thank you for participating in the process. I know this was difficult. I have no comments that are going to add to the discussion.
Thank you.
Great. And I know I had quite a bit to say at the last meeting, so again, thank you for your patience and taking what we said into consideration. I am anxious to hear as well from those that took the time to come today. I continue to be, I think you've made some great changes here. And I appreciate that you were able to double down, as you said, with the neighbor that was concerned about the commercial use of the property. And we have no way of knowing in a hearing like this whether that's going to happen or not, right? It's just that street is going to, based on, how many people will be coming and going in that property, will see a significant additional amount of traffic. And we are just blessed and burdened with many of these streets, like the project before this, that are small and not passable by two vehicles. So, we don't have any other jurisdiction here in the bylaws other than making sure that people are safe with sightlines coming in and out of the property, and that you've provided enough parking and space on the property to make sure that people are safe coming in and out.
Yeah.
I just think that, that's an important value to keep with whoever comes in and out of your property while they're there.
Additionally, I know that it had been brought up previously about, providing speed bumps or something. And I know that road is, to me, that road is a crawler, right? Like, I'm not trying to, jump my car off any, bumps or whatever. The road gets sort of messy because of the nature of it, right? The winter destroys a road like that. I'm more than happy to provide speed bumps, to reduce the speed of people driving on that road. I think 3 additional speed bumps along that path, starting from sort of either 80 or 90 Maria, to carry that through the road.
Right.
It's a small price for me to pay to make it so that everyone is happy or okay with the build of this home. I think that would be certainly reasonable
Thank
for me to provide.
Yeah, and I also think that regardless of the use, you're putting in a pool and a gym and, multiple things that may or may not exist, in some of the other homes, in the area. So the use of the property is going to warrant, it's going to bring noise, it's going to bring light, it's going to bring volume, right, that doesn't exist in the rest of the neighborhood. So I have no other comments.
Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Seeing that you're going to make a very large construction site for a period of time, I was wondering if you would be willing to regrade the road at the end of that process so that, it doesn't have big, huge potholes and that type of thing.
Yes, I think that was something, even in the first meeting we had talked about, that I had no problem with, that it's certainly understandable. I know there's, home being finished at the end of the road as it is, and they had talked about doing that. So the last thing I want to do is have the road be regraded right ahead of me starting construction, then me go and mess it up. I don't, that's not my intent. I'm not trying to destroy the neighborhood. So yes,
I know.
I certainly would be happy if it was a approval with conditions that I regrade the road and add speed bumps. That's, absolutely not a problem for me.
Is
Thank
that possible to add that to the condition?
May I interrupt? Well, labeled on the site plan, and we can double check this, I believe Maria Road is a public road, not a private road. It's
Right.
labeled on the site plan as public.
Public
I'd have
way.
to check the DPW's list. If it is a private road, then the neighbors can come to their maintenance agreements. If it is a public road, the homeowner should not have a right to
Yeah. Okay.
regrade the road. So we would have to confirm that.
Great, thank you. All right, that was our first round on this side, so why don't we open it up to members of the public who want to speak? We'll start with members in the room. If you come up to the podium, if you have something to say, state your name and your address.
Hello, board. Hello, Brian. I'm Frank Dean from 30 Maria Road. And I got your letter, and I didn't know how to respond, frankly. I found it was a mechanical response to being forced to contact your neighbors after being here twice. While you've made some changes, the house is still going to be 20 to 30% bigger than anything on there. It's too big for the road, too big for the lot. It's got the amenities of a hotel. It's got the bathroom to bedroom ratio of a hotel. I understand that there's been some positive comments made, and I recognize those positive comments, but I just don't see how this is an improvement to the neighborhood. I'm sorry, it's just my feeling. And again, I'd rather say this in public to you than just put it in a private letter. It just seems inconsistent with the road that we have today. And wanted to make sure my voice was heard. I didn't want to respond to your letter implying I'm supportive of the project if I put some conditions in the letter, because I believe the conditions I would put in the letter would be hard for you to meet with the current design and with your current desires, and I don't know how to bridge that gap. Just wanted to let you know that lack of response wasn't support. I just didn't know how to put in writing my feelings, and I just wanted to have this opportunity to talk to you directly.
I will say, I didn't assume any support from a lack of response.
I just wanted to be clear.
I basically assumed the other way.
Just-
I will say that I understand it's a bigger home, but to my point that this is about density, and if you look at the density of the home on the lot, it is not, it's not exceeding any numbers that would require special variance or special permitting. It is within a deviation of the norm to the road average for density, but it's an acre lot. It's a big lot. It can support a bigger home. But I don't know. I designed the home originally with bathrooms for every bedroom, basically to make it so that girls all had their own private bathroom. I had no desire to make this a hotel or a short-term rental. It was designed as just a great summer home for family to go to and have their own private space that didn't require sharing anything, even though you could. And I did say to the architect during the process of the revisions that I'm fine, to Tom's point, losing a bathroom in the hallway. People can share bathrooms. My kids share a bathroom now. He just made the revisions, and I didn't have time to say, no, get rid of the bathroom. It was, okay, that works. I'm fine with it as is. If you kept the bathroom, fine. But I certainly understand the concerns. My intent is not for it to be a short-term rental property. I am sorry that it's, sort of turned into this, concern, but I guess for me, it's a modern-sized home on an acre lot. I don't know how to say it otherwise. That I feel like if I made it a 2,000 square foot home or a 2,500 square foot home, it would feel too small.
And 20 miles outside of Boston, it fit right in.
I don't think it doesn't fit in the Cape. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I'm not a housing expert on Eastham and the Cape, but I thought it was a Cape Cod style colonial that would make sense for the area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, anybody else?
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Clem. I live at 25 Maria Road next door. We have the same size lot. Our home is a whopping 1,506 square feet, and that's after we put an addition on it. The property was originally owned by my wife's parents, so we're second-generation owners. I missed the last meeting, and so I'm a little behind on what's going on. Some of my concerns have been addressed here, at least I hope, particularly on privacy. Our one-story house will have this very large house towering over us. You know, if there are going to be enough trees to block the view and the sound, I'm very much concerned with that. One of our two bedrooms faces 35 Maria, and if there's going to be late-night pool parties with bright lights, we're just concerned if anyone's going to be able to sleep there. I'm also concerned about safety on the road. It's a very narrow, one-lane, unpaved road, and not only is it not sufficient for two vehicles to pass each other, it's not sufficient for one vehicle and one pedestrian to pass. So the unwritten custom is that the pedestrian steps off the road to let the vehicle go by. Some of us are getting a little older, and I use a cane or walking poles when I go out. My wife uses a rollator. That makes it a little difficult to step off the road in places. And if there's snow and it's been plowed and there's a bank there, then forget it. We just can't go out. This road, and there are similar ones in the area, were clearly designed for very low traffic. And over the years, the traffic has increased, and I'm concerned that this house will bring a very significant increase in traffic. Because we're down at the end, it's a dead-end road, we can't go anywhere without passing 35 Maria, whether we're walking or whether we're driving. There's just no alternatives, and that concerns me. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I believe it has been discussed before, drainage. I know on our lot, it looks flat until you look carefully. It actually slopes away from the road. It's an east-west road. The northwest corner is the high point of our lot, and then it slopes down to the southeast. With the plans are for 35 Maria, there doesn't seem to be a lot of bare soil for drainage, and I'm concerned that in a heavy storm, the runoff will end up in our backyard. You know, I don't know what the answer is on that, but it is definitely a concern. So that pretty much is where I'm at right now. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
So just to help you understand the landscape plan, the eastern red cedars, I don't know if you can, so there's a significant number of eastern red cedars that are going to be planted along our lot lines. That creates a massive hedge. These are planted 5 feet apart. They'll blend together. They grow to 15 to 25 feet tall. So they will they'll create a full privacy hedge between the lots, which also then helps with the sound barrier. I think that as far as the location of the home being centered and the trees, I would like to think that there will be you know, plenty of privacy between the lots, that shouldn't be a concern. I can't speak to traffic on the road, whether this was a 3-bedroom home or 4 or 6. The bedrooms, the 2 bedrooms in the basement are guest bedrooms. They're not intended to be with people all the time. So to me, this is a 4-bed home. That's the same as other homes in the neighborhood, so it's not like I can count on adding 16 cars to the road all the time. The goal here, obviously, is we'll find out if this is a private or public roadway, that we can make adjustments to putting road barriers or speed bumps on it to help reduce the amount of traffic or speed of traffic. And I will do my part to help with that the best I can. The driveway's designed as requested to be flared so that there's no issues with people pulling out of it. They won't be, you know, unable to see anyone walking or going by. As far as the grade of the lot, the entire lot is supposed to be the same grade based on what the surveyor did. So there should be no issue as far as I know. I'm not a site surveyor. There should be no issue with drainage going off. The septic system that's planned for it is the IA nitrogen reduction system. So there should be no issue with any sort of excess chemicals in the soil or anything like that. That would be a real problem. I know that was another concern. I feel like I've done as much as I possibly can without making the entire lot trees, you know, to give myself some green space and play space for kids. But I feel like this addresses at least as many of the concerns that you have as I can, you know, without making assumptions or guarantees about traffic.
Okay.
All right.
As far as the road being public or private, again, going back to 1960.
Sir, do you mind getting back to the microphone? Or you turn on that microphone,
Well,
but
I
thank you.
can help too, Mr. Clem. I did check in on the road listings on our Department of Public Works site. I will agree with you that Maria Road is private. And I know that's all so I think we just need to deal with it on the site plan from your site engineer. It's a mislabel.
Okay.
Take care of that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate the back and forth as well. Next, anybody else?
My name's Tom Polarity, 90 Maria Road. You said you had no knowledge of the buildings around Eastham. Well, my wife and I have been teachers here for 50 years, and we've seen the buildings. We've seen Shirtlift turn into cottages to these big mansions, and everybody knows about that road. And we have another another thing that I didn't know about until last month when you mentioned it, that you have an option as a planning board. You look at the space, you decide, is this something that fits in? I think you've all been around that road, you've seen what it's like. We have done our best to try to prevent dust from coming up. We see every car that travels down Maria and Sand Dollar. No matter what we do, we can't stop them from flying, just like on, not as bad as Route 6. It's just too big of a house. I mean, every place we look around our neighborhood, if there's a 4-bedroom house, it's pretty amazing. There aren't any 6 bedrooms close to us in that neighborhood. And if you approve this, it's going to be a monster compared to everything else. I don't know what else I can say, but I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
I know I've said it. I mean, if you ignore the basement, it is a 4-bed house.
Pardon me?
If you ignore the basement, it's a 4-bed house. So it's not like, if you have a basement, you could put 2 bedrooms down there, and then you have a 6-bedroom house. So it's difficult for me to, yes, I have to submit it as a 6-bedroom house because I'm putting bedrooms in the basement, and they have egress windows, and so that makes it a 6-bedroom home.
6 bedrooms does not belong on that road. And I'm sure you heard it from, did you talk to Matt Getty?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because he told me, he told you, it doesn't belong here. I don't know where you're getting this positive result from some of the neighbors.
Sir, I think the protocol is to address it
Oh,
up to us. So
I'm
if you
sorry.
all could just address your comments to us so it doesn't
Okay.
become.
It's just,
Yeah, I understand.
I know he mentioned that some neighbors had approved some things, but as far as I know, nobody had.
Right.
That's all.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
I mean, I would say that if I took the bedrooms out of the basement on a submission, what would you all say? Well, he's going to put those bedrooms in after it's done. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes here. That I'm building this house with 2 guest bedrooms in the basement because, much like the previous applicant, he's got grandkids coming to the house. Those are guests at his house. He needs a space for his guests.
Right.
So that's
And
what-
to be fair, sir, I think it's still pending Board of Health approval as well, correct?
What? This home?
yeah.
So there is a Board of Health letter.
There's a letter we've
stating
seen.
that the septic system is compatible for a
Right.
6-bedroom home, but I was going through this process before I went to the Board of Health to get approval from the Board of Health.
Exactly. No, I understand
Yeah.
that that's part of the process as well, because it's volume
Yeah.
related and protecting the environment, and there's a number of factors, of course. Good. Okay, well, let's continue with public comment. Name and address, please. Thank you.
Janet Benjamins. I live at 40 Maria. I would be directly across the street from Mr. Holding. I do understand that Mr. Holding, it was suggested to him that he contact us, and he did contact us by letter with a 35 Maria Road return address. So I had to look up actually his home address so he would receive my comments. And I sent him a copy of the 2 letters I have submitted to the board. I agree with everything my neighbors have said. We are all very much in agreement. We're concerned about the safety in the road. I walk on the road also. You cannot stand on that road and have cars go by. You have to step off the road. He seems to be building a 6-bedroom, 6.5-bathroom house based on a technicality, because you can't call the below-grade bedrooms, which each have a bathroom, bedrooms per se. So technically, he's proposing a 4-bedroom, 4.5-bathroom house. Now, it's very nice that he wants each of his daughters to have a bathroom. I don't know how many daughters he has, but I have a daughter and 4 granddaughters, and my 4 granddaughters each share 2 bathrooms. They each have their own bedroom, but they share 2 bathrooms. We received letters as abutters, and I think we have lived up to our responsibility by having several of us come and state our concerns, as well as sending letters. When we purchased our homes, we purchased them with the neighborhood that's pretty much there now. So we knew what we were getting. We knew that it was a very quiet neighborhood, a very safe neighborhood. And I do want to say that when one of our neighbors did renovate, he came to us each personally. And he and his wife showed us the plans and talked to us each personally and asked if we had any objections and what they might be. Mr. Holding didn't do that. Of the 9 homes on our side of Maria, 6 of us have been represented at these meetings. One of them is Mr. Holding, who owns a home, so that's one of the 9. One of them is a part-time resident. And one of them is Mr. Holding's friend, who would be living next door. So out of the 9 people, 6 of us have come and spoken to you. at least 2 of these meetings. I'm concerned about the pool. We have been in a significant drought in Eastham for 2 years. We have also been at an extreme drought for some of that time. I am concerned with having a pool in our neighborhood, besides increasing the noise and the lighting. There was a comment, or there was more than one comment made by people on the board, and thank you very much for your consideration, about turning the house sideways, which Mr. Holding said he could not do. Well, we live very close to Thumpertown. We drive down Thumpertown. There's a house right on Thumpertown that is turned sideways because of the length of the house. There are at least 2 houses on Bridge and Herringbrook close to us that have also been turned sideways. I appreciate the changes he has made, but I am still in strong disagreement to what he wants to do. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments from members of the audience? Okay, well, let's run through the board one more time, see if anybody has any additional questions or comments. Kevin?
Yeah, question for Paul, because I just don't have the knowledge in the zone. I don't think it's a zoning question per se, but for pools that are anywhere in town, in light of potential water shortages and stuff, like I know that some communities all over the place, when someone has a pool or some large water thing, require that the water that fills the pool be brought in from off-site. Trucks come in from whatever. I don't think that's zoning question per se, but do we know if the town has any policy on that or requirements on that for pools that go outside? And maybe something that comes out of Board of Health. I have no idea, but I'm just wondering if that's something that we have in place.
To my knowledge, we don't, but that doesn't mean I don't know. But that's not a zoning issue, so it's not really something that this board could take action on. The pool is an allowed accessory use in the residential as long as it meets the setback requirements and it meets the safety building
Right, again, I
codes
thought it
and
was
everything.
more of a Board of Health type question that might get addressed if they're looking at the septic and all that kind of thing, but I was just a random thought. I'm not really, this is the difficult part of the job that we have up here, is trying to balance neighbor concerns, which there are many, and we've had concerns about a number of us here on the board, against the rights that the property owner has, what's allowable given the size of a lot and that kind of thing. The process that we've gone through here is trying to get some movement on both sides to try to get to something that's at least acceptable, tolerable. I'm not sure what the appropriate word would be there. And I struggle with it. There are a lot of neighborhoods throughout the town that consist of very similar sized lots in terms of maybe 10,000, 15,000. So most of them are kind of generic that way, but there may be 1 or 2 lots that are unusually large compared to the neighborhood. And that's where a larger house proposed for a lot that's a larger lot technically fits and meets the zoning requirements. But we also, our zoning bylaw does include our analysis, or whatever we can call it, about how does it fit in the neighborhood and the characteristics and that kind of thing. And it's tough. If you had a neighborhood that every single lot was 40,000 plus square feet and people wanted to put in a big house, you're probably not going to get any arguments about it because everyone's going for the same thing. But when you're sort of mixing and matching a bit here between large lots and small lots and large houses on large lots and smaller houses on lots, It's tough. It is very difficult for us to try to make a clear determination on that. And I appreciate all of the neighbors who have come out to speak, because oftentimes it's met with silence and you get what you get. I don't have any questions at this point. It's just, I have to make a tough decision in my head here on this one, because we've been going at it for a number of months, and both sides deserve an answer. And I honestly am on the fence here trying to balance this out, and it's not simple.
Thanks, Kevin. Pat?
So Kevin was very eloquent about the challenges facing us. I have a question, too, that technically is not a zoning question, but it came up among the neighbors in the last meeting. So, and I went looking to find out what time construction can start in neighborhoods, because that was another concern the neighbors had. And I couldn't find it under the building department, and I just wonder if anyone knows.
There isn't a bylaw that regulates that. The
Okay.
general rule of thumb or courtesy is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but there's nothing actually written in a
Because,
bylaw.
and I wouldn't have asked it, except that there's several issues that all sort of tie in together, I think. You know, the safety, the speed, which you've addressed with the speed bumps. It just seems like there's a lot of neighborhood issues, some of which we address and some which we don't address, but which, again, following up on Kevin, we're trying to make something that won't be so burdensome for anyone on that road, either the applicant or the neighbors.
There has been construction going on. I suppose we could ask the neighbor or the neighbors and say, you know, what time have you guys been doing your construction for this home? It's been ongoing. It is still ongoing, as I understand it.
Okay, all right, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Dave?
I understand the concerns like Kevin and Pat, and I understand your concerns as a property owner, your desire to build what you want to build. And you do have a good-sized lot. And you've made concessions, and you are, I think you're trying to do the best that you can, given what you want, to try and fit in. Everybody's not going to be happy. That's just the way life is, unfortunately. And hopefully, time will smooth things out a bit. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dan?
I have no questions.
Okay. Stephen?
I have no further questions either.
Okay, Mark?
No further questions.
Andrew?
I appreciate the one comment from the gentleman concerning the stormwater runoff potential change. I understand you said there's no really grade changing proposed, but you are increasing the amount of coverage by like 3,000 square feet, not counting the pool and pool deck, right? So there's going to be more runoff in the future than exists today. So do you understand, is there a engineering component that we don't see on the site plan, that how stormwater is going to be intercepted, managed, or infiltrated to the ground?
I would have to talk to site engineer to discuss that. It's not something that was part of the application process for me, as far as I know, to manage the storm.
That may be my ignorance too, as an alternate new to the board.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a good question. If this was a commercial application, and we were doing a commercial site plan review, then we would need a full stormwater engineering review. But in this case, that's not needed.
Okay. It may be something that the board may still want to consider if there's a discussion, or I do see it, and if it's draining towards another property owner, it could potentially be a problem both during construction and then in the future. So
Can we request it, Jackie? Can we request it, even if it's not required because it's not a commercial use? Because I had that same comment.
So you do have the tool of your conditions.
That's what I was
Conditions
thinking.
need to be reasonable. And an entire engineered plan on stormwater on a single-family home may not fall under that category, in my
Expensive.
opinion.
Yeah.
If there's a concern, for example, as Paul was just leaning over, you know, with water coming out of downspouts, if there's a,
Yeah, I think a lot of times what we see on the residential is there will be a note on the site plan that drainage will, from the house will be directed through the gutters down, through downspouts.
Okay.
And into, leaching basins at the corners of the house or wherever they're needed.
Okay.
So, that's not a full, stormwater plan or study, it's just notated on the plan, which it's probably going to happen anyways, that's pretty common
Can we add
practice,
that as
but
a
you could-
condition?
You could add that as a condition.
Okay. Andrew, thoughts on that?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay. Steve?
No further questions.
Okay. Well, I'll just note, comments of my colleagues. There's a quantitative and a qualitative piece of this, and when you look at the quantitative side of it, you've met all the quantitative numbers. I just want to comment on the human side of it, which, we can't measure in our jurisdiction, and we can't necessarily deny a project because of that. What I think you're hearing is the impersonal nature of the connections, that you may have made didn't necessarily endear yourself to working through challenges as they happen. I mean, there's this piece of it, and then there's going to be the ongoing community that you're becoming part of, right? And often kind of how you enter, portends kind of the future. So maybe there's some takeaway here from what you're hearing of the majority of your neighbors. From what I'm understanding, it's almost everybody in the neighborhood. So, but I have no other further questions, and I do appreciate your patience and you taking all of this, our feedback, et cetera, into consideration. And I do think there's as you live in the home, part of being considerate of volume, noise. And I understand what that's like, as one of the gentlemen pointed out, having a two-story building, looking down on your one-story building, and all of a sudden you've had privacy. And I believe this property has not been occupied for quite a period of time. So you go from having no noise, no lights, nobody, to what you're going to be building, and it's quite something. So I have no other further questions. Do you have any other comments, sir?
I will just say that I think it's hard for me. This is my first time purchasing a property and building a home. I did not live in this neighborhood beforehand, so it's hard for me to have any sort of understanding of how it was done for the other neighbor that did that, right? So I purchased a property. It was I was under the idea that it's my property. I can build it to the bylaws, and then everyone would be happy, But it's not the case. I understand that. I feel like I've addressed that with a lot of the changes. I feel like, much like Kevin had said, that there was an attempt to sort of make concessions. I feel like I've made concessions. I feel like I've done my part to give in to some of the requests or help make it so that this is easier on everybody. So I hope that that's, appreciated.
Definitely appreciate your efforts in that area. So it sounds like we're ready to move forward.
Michelle, just a question.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, he had talked about, the applicant had talked about putting in speed bumps and stuff like that. Is that something can we make that a condition? And any other safety features, whether it's a posted sign about the speed or whatever, what can we do to at least try to address that?
I don't think
it's a
we
narrow
have
road, there's limits.
jurisdiction over the road, but I'll.
Correct. Just to clarify, while it is, I think correctly, a private road, I would caution speed bumps. Speed bumps are going to also impact everyone in the neighborhood in a way they might not like. I mean, I guess I'm again, when I go back to making sure that our conditions are reasonable, that they're grounded in our bylaw. And I'm struggling to understand where the speed bumps are coming from and what makes them a reasonable condition.
Well, I mean, one of the concerns that the neighbors have made is that with the increase in the traffic, it'll be kicking up more dust. People may take liberties with the speed of their car. Whatever speed bumps are used to slow that process down. If they want to drive really fast over a speed bump, good luck to them in their car. But I don't know what limitations we have in directing that. You make a good point that perhaps some of the neighbors who will also have to deal with speed bumps may say, why do we have these things here? It's only making it worse. I don't know. But again, I'm just grasping for straws at this point to try to address one or two of the concerns more that the neighbors have expressed.
It is something that on a private road, and I believe this neighborhood does not have a road maintenance agreement, or is that right? There isn't a road maintenance agreement? And you do have a road maintenance agreement? You are the road maintenance? I live on a private road here in Eastham too. And so it is also true that if tomorrow, before this house is ever built, if a neighbor decides to, from their land, put a speed bump across, they could, and the neighborhood would need to deal with that.
Okay. So it sounds
that
like we
already
will not
exists.
add it officially as a condition. I do want to, I neglected to see if there was anybody on Zoom who wanted to make a comment. It's hard when people aren't on camera to know. Okay, hearing none, I believe we'll move to review the proposed findings of fact. And there's some, we do want to make sure that the site plan, the notation of Maria Road being a public way is adjusted.
We can
Okay.
take care of that with the engineer.
And then we are still pending Board of Health approval.
Yes, the planning board approval never
Supersedes that.
supersedes. It does not
Correct.
guarantee you a Board of Health approval, and vice versa.
Exactly. Okay, so you understand that part of it. Okay, so, so the findings of fact, number one, your property is located at 35 Maria Road, Residential District A. The applicant is, number two, the applicant has applied for site plan approval, residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaw, section 7.4.4. Residential lot density in section 10.3, site plan approval residential to demolish an existing dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling on a lot containing 20,000 square feet or more where the site coverage exceeds 3,000 square feet. The SPA-R public hearing was opened by the Planning Board, Eastham Planning Board, site plan approval. Residential public hearing was opened by the Eastham Planning Board on May 20th, 2026, and continued to June 17th, 2026, and to August 19th, 2026. This report reviews the applicant's further revised submission, plans revised August 4th, 2026, approval set date dated August 6th, 2026 for the August 19th, 2026 hearing. Number four, the revised plot plan and application site coverage calculator. August 4th, 2026, identify proposed site coverage of 4,199 square feet, 10.48%, a reduction from 4,713 square feet, 11.76%, reviewed at the June 17th, 2026 hearing. The proposed gross floor area, is that number correct, the 4199?
Yes.
It is. It is correct. The proposed gross floor area of 4,199 square feet is below the operative 4,800 square feet limit for this lot and complies with section 7.4.2. The proposed project does not negatively impact existing native vegetation, soil, or grade. No grade changes are planned, and I don't know if we want to incorporate in here that the downspouts will be directed, appropriately. Can we add some language?
You can add that into your
Conditions. Okay, great. The 6-foot perimeter vegetative buffer continues to be shown as retained. The revised landscape plan provides 280 plantings, of which 225, 80%, are Cape Cod native species exceeding the 50% minimum required by Section 10.3.2 and an increase from the 75% native figure reviewed in June. The applicant reports no legacy trees were observed on the lot. Any removal within the 6-foot perimeter would require planning board approval under Section 6.1.1. The proposed project does relate harmoniously to the terrain and to the use, scale, and proportions of existing and proposed buildings in the neighborhood, multiple dormers, differing garage and front porch setbacks, facade variation, front tree plantings are used to reduce perceived massing. The maximum building height is 29 feet, 7 inches. The applicant has reoriented the garage to face 55 Maria Road and replaced the circular driveway with a straight driveway and a K-turn to allow vehicles to exit onto Maria Road facing forward. The dwelling remains sited at approximately the same location as the existing dwelling and is balanced in proportion to the large lot size. 7, the prevailing characteristics of the neighborhood are preserved by the plan as presented. Proposed exterior materials include gray shaker-style vinyl siding, architectural roof shingles, Anderson windows, and white PVC trim, compatible with traditional materials found in the community. The roof form and dormers is consistent with residential architecture in Eastham. The design and style are contemporary compared to older homes on neighboring properties, but are generally compatible with the character of the neighborhood in terms of use, materials, and siding. The proposed dwelling remains larger than the immediate Maria Road neighborhood average, 8.41% livable area ratio, and 10.48% GFA ratio versus averages of 7.92% and 9.56% respectively. The proposed project does not negatively impact steep slopes, floodplains, hilltops, dunes, scenic views and wetlands. No steep slopes, dunes, or wetlands are identified on the site. No sensitive site features are identified or present as a risk. And the proposed project does protect significant environmental resources, including groundwater quality and water quality. The applicant proposes a microfast 0.5 nitrogen reduction wastewater treatment system with certified design flow of 666 gallons per day, exceeding the 660 GPD required for 6 bedrooms under Title V. The Eastham Health Agent has confirmed the proposed IA system allows a nitrogen credit supporting 6 bedrooms on a 40,000 plus square foot lot. Board of Health review and approval of the septic design remains required prior to issuance of a building permit. 10, the proposed site plan does maximize the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site and in relationship to adjacent ways. The revised driveway is a straight configuration with a K-turn, allows all vehicles to exit onto Maria Road facing forward, maximizing visibility of pedestrian and vehicular traffic. Adequate on-site parking and turnaround space is provided for emergency vehicles. The existing dwelling, number 11, was constructed in 1955 and is not a significant building under Section 21.0. Demolition review by the Historical Commission pursuant to Section 11.0 is not required. Will you let me know how many abutters and parties of interest appeared at the hearing?
Yes, I think by my count right now I have 9, but I will double check our records from our previous 2 meetings and have that updated for the decision
And also
letter.
the number of letters?
We have received 2 letters in opposition.
2 letters in opposition and no letters in support.
Correct.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the findings of fact for case PB 2026-01?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Kevin?
I'm a no.
No? Pat?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Steve Rogers?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Nope, you're not voting in this one.
Oh, I'm not voting.
That's okay. You can still
Okay,
call the vote.
There you go. Okay, not voting. Thank you. All right, motion carries. And then these are standard conditions,
Yes, so you do have standard conditions.
With the addition of the drainage?
1 through 8.
And then do you want to give us language?
So, yes, we'll have to draft some language on the gutters should, what's the right word? The outflow of the gutters should be directed into the ground at the corner of the house.
This is the part where it's, to do this on the fly is a little difficult. So what I would say is the board has to figure out what it wants to require, and the applicant's going to have to make sure that that's what he wants to do. So I think what I've said before is it's, a lot of times on residential, we'll see that it's already been contemplated, the design already has notations that rainwater, stormwater flow from the house will be directed through gutters, downspouts into a dry leach basin. And
Okay.
I think
So can we
that's
add
not-
language
that's
to that
common.
effect?
you can, but I'm just,
And sir, are you amenable to that?
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, that's how it works.
It probably is already in place.
Yeah,
You just don't
yeah,
have the
yes,
expert here
yes.
to attest to that.
you're just, if you're in agreeing to that, you're just going to have to make sure that that's, if it's not already part of the plan anyways, and it probably is, because your gutters and downspouts are
Right.
going to be directed to the ground, but I think just that they're going into a leach basin would alleviate whether there's any additional runoff. But again, the landscaping, I mean, there's quite a bit of landscaping and
Right.
grass. It's not like it's running into, it's different on a commercial where it's running into a parking lot where it's going to
Right.
paved surface or something, so.
So are you amenable to adding condition 9 that the gutters and downspouts will be directed to the ground
Yes.
to a leach field? Okay.
Yes.
So you'll work to draft some language? Okay. And then there are 2 additional proposed conditions. So that was number 9, this would be number 10.
Well, so you haven't discussed these, sorry to interrupt
Oh.
you. There's a mention here of legacy trees. I put this in as an option for you to discuss
Oh,
because there
okay.
had been some neighbor feedback with concern about legacy trees. Technically, you don't need to add this condition. Every property in Eastham is subject to this bylaw and needs to follow the legacy tree bylaw. So you do not need to condition it, but it is something that had come up.
Okay.
The second bullet point
It has
condition.
already been resolved.
Has been
Yes.
reconciled.
No, that I knew. So any board members, we'll just go down the line, have any desire to add the legacy tree proposed additional condition in as written? Kevin?
I would leave it out, it's already law anyway, so.
Okay.
I
No,
don't think it
Pat?
needs to be in here.
Okay. Dave?
Don't need it.
Okay. Steve? Okay, great. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the proposed conditions 1 through 9 as, 1 through 8 as written and 9 as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, or Kevin?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve site plan approval for 35 Maria Road, case number PB 2026-01? Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
I'm still a no.
No? Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have one more thing to do. Folks, thank you all for coming, appreciate you coming. We do have one more order of business here to approve our meeting minutes from June 17th, which was our last meeting, June 17th, 2026. Those minutes, I'm sure everyone has reviewed. They were in the June packet. They may not have been included in this particular packet.
The minutes were in this packet.
Oh, in this packet as well. So do any comments, questions, edits?
Sorry, Steve was giving me a look. These were in the digital packet.
They were in the,
I had
right.
sent you a note letting you know they were going to be only in the digital, so I could get you these before I was out of the office.
Right, they weren't in the physical.
Right.
Really, I tell you. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, we can all use that as a, so any comments, questions, name misspellings, anything? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Kevin?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Steve? Stephen? Abstain? Okay. And Mark and Andrew were not part of it, and Steve?
Yes.
And yes, chair votes aye. Any other business?
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Just so, as we go through the zoning bylaw amendments, what's the board's preference if we need to reserve time? Is it to start earlier, or?
Yes. That would be my proposal.
Start earlier or go later?
Start earlier
Right. Is
for
that-
my
what's the other
Yeah.
one?
purposes.
Or have additional
start
meetings.
earlier.
Or have a separate meeting?
No,
I guess, you know, we
I'm
can
okay to
place
start
some of this
earlier.
by ear. I mean, if we feel like we can let
Can we
everyone know,
start
like.
at 4 as a standard? Or just the meetings where
Well,
we're going to talk
I
about
think
the amendments?
sometimes, I think it'll depend on just what do we have to report back. If it's
Right.
just a simple, here's a status update versus we actually want to have a discussion. So I think we
Okay.
can, but I guess, just so we know, if it looks like you know, we need to have time set aside, is the preference to start before 5
Yes.
rather, okay.
I'll speak for
If we
myself.
need the time. Okay.
Anybody else have a comment?
Before 5 is fine.
All right, so we can just assume that and then we can verify the time when.
Okay, great.
Because we always do say this, we do have one case for September. So that meeting is September 19th, I believe.
Yeah. So,
One case, you can plan for the 19th.
and we
Zoning
may
task
want to
force will
take
not
this
have
up,
met yet, but,
will not have met yet.
right, the zoning task force will not have met yet, but if, as I said, I can prepare some materials on,
I think that would be
Board
great. If we want to
process.
take this, yeah, as part 2.
but I don't know that you need to meet early.
We can do
With
it
only
all.
one case.
One case, and then we can meet after that. Okay, great, perfect.
September
So
16, right?
it's the third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, September 16.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, that's what I thought. Other business?
Yeah, Paul, could you put up the screenshot?
Oh, sure. Actually, I closed it. Maybe not. Sorry, Dan, I closed that out. Do you want
Hmm.
to sign
Is
back
this
in?
about,
Okay, well, I can pass this around.
no, I mean, I'm just, this,
Didn't we just close?
It has nothing to do with their approval. It has to do with,
just in general,
in general.
I just didn't. want
No,
you to
they
run
got
it.
approval. They got approval.
Do you want to pass it?
I'll have to pass it around. I just want you to be aware, between the June submission of this house and today's submission, and I defy you to find a difference in the plan, other than the doors moving to one
I
side.
have the old plans there. I'll
I got
show
them
it to you.
both.
Okay, good. I'll point them out. So I did this on my dining room table this afternoon.
I'm gonna
All right, Miss,
No, give me the
this
floor
is,
plan. I don't mean this view. I
Madam
mean
Chair.
floor plan.
Yes.
No, no,
Can I
no,
interrupt
I'm
for a
not
minute?
talking
Yeah,
about the floor
wait, can
plan.
we,
this,
so,
if you're
can we
talking
adjourn?
about, the case is over.
All right, I know the case is over. Okay, never mind.
I just
I
don't
just
want you to.
I just want to.
Okay, so we could have talked about that during the case.
No, I don't want to talk about it in front of the applicant.
Okay,
I did not want to do that.
Do we want to adjourn?
yeah.
Yes, go ahead and
Is it,
adjourn.
I just, is this, you want, are trying to make a point?
Yes.
About
What is your
site
general
coverage in
point?
My point.
Without the
All right.
visual?
My point is, you can't see the difference between the sizes of the two houses on the visual, on the vertical elevation from the street. There is no difference, other than the doors moving to the side, which I agreed had to be done.
Does anybody
You can't.
disagree with that?
You can't see 500 square feet on a 4,000 or 4,600.
And is there a
square foot.
reason we didn't talk about that
Because
during the
I didn't
hearing?
want to influence the applicant. I didn't want to give him ammunition. I'm just
There's
trying to
ammunition?
state, I'm just trying to state, when you enforce something, there should be a reason, such as the visual from the street, on why you would like to see the house smaller. That's what I'm trying to state. And if you can't see the difference, and I verify you can't, then what have you gained in terms of the visual of the house on the lot?
But
Think
you
about
have-
it,
you
think
have-
about it.
It's more than the visual, though, Dan.
There's
You have
multiple-
actual
multiple
size,
aspects.
Actual size of the house. One of the concerns that they had here was the fact that.
Can we just adjourn?
Let's
I mean,
adjourn. You know what? I didn't mean to
Keep
cause an
talking.
argument.
I don't want, no, I don't want to, I mean, can we just adjourn the regular meeting?
I don't want anyone to run afoul of the open meeting law, that the case is closed. If you would like to use this as an example to talk about site plan issues, we can certainly do that.
In our next meeting, when we're talking about zoning amendments, stuff?
Just so that you're able to make your point. I just don't.
Great.
We start getting back into.
No, I'm not.
I agree.
I did not want this to be specific to this particular application. I wanted it to think about
Right.
what you're regulating and think about the goal. That's
I
what.
think you did a good job of stating your case at the beginning.
Right.
And I think that those of us spoke our minds as well in terms of where we grounded our comments. And that's what this board is all about.
I agree.
So I appreciate that you thought that whole thing through. And when we go to propose what we're going to do next and what we want to advocate for, there may be some additional criteria in addition to what we use our rubric for that we want put in place. So,
I'll say, we're going to be working on the floor area ratio as site
Right.
coverage bylaw. So
exactly,
this is totally, if we want to revisit this and we can use this as an example
excellent.
to
Right.
get at this point. Right, we just can't do it now because we haven't.
Exactly,
The
right.
case
fine.
is closed and we haven't put this discussion on
you.
the agenda. So we
Okay.
can bring all this whole back, same thing back on
Perfect.
the next agenda if you want.
Helpful for the new guys to understand more definitively what our role is and
Yes.
what we should and should not
Yeah,
comment on.
perfect. Thank you.
So you
All
need a
right,
motion
do we have
to
a motion? I know, I was going there next. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, just aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.